Okay. Hey, team, great to be here today. I'm the commanding general for AUSA, U.S. Army Central, Lieutenant General Pat Frank, and I've got Command Sergeant Major Garza with me today, my teammate. And we're going to bring to you what we've been doing over the last 12 months since we last saw you here at AUSA. And you got a whole bunch of AUSA supporters here in the crowd, so we consider this a home game, even though away from our headquarters. We've got the Chad from Yemen, sir. Thank you for coming and being with us today. We got our UAE Land Force Commander with us also, Special Forces out of Yemen with us. Our former DCG, stolen by General Saeed in UAE, but a great, great officer, and the senior SDO DAT in the Department of Defense, Major General Glenn Hagler. Great to have him here with us. Eric Shirley is with us today. Sergeant Major is with us also. Sergeant Major Singleton, great to see both of you. Rich Harrison's in the crowd somewhere. There he is, Rich, our 32nd AAMDC commander. So you can see we've got a lot of our teammates here. 3rd SFAB is with us. Mike, great to see you and your team. Usually we see them in brown berets all over the theater and in high demand by our partners. And our Corps of Engineers is here too. Awesome to always have the support of the Corps of Engineers. You've seen what they've done, and we'll talk a little bit about that today. Theme is General Kurilla's theme, the strategic theme of CENTCOM: people, partners, and innovation. Next slide, please. Ready Army. So General George has talked to all of us U.S. Army soldiers about the enduring constants of leadership, and that is Ready Army. We all know that. And I'm sure the Chief will talk to us to great extent about Ready Army and what that means to our formations. We have already taken that on inside of AUSA, and that's throughout the theater, down to every soldier in our formation. You also see the areas where the Chief has focused us in the U.S. Army. And we've taken that, and we've had a discussion with our Land Force commanders this Saturday. We had all of them into D.C., and we talked about those focus areas that the Chief has provided us, from warfighting to delivering and sustaining ready combat power to continually transforming our Army. You'll see what we're doing in CENTCOM and ARCENT to do that, and then, of course, strengthening the Army profession. Again, under our enduring theme inside of ARCENT, CENTCOM, people, partners, and innovation. And you see many of the things that we're doing in theater there, whether that's taking a C-17 and moving strategic lift with our M1s, whether that's our soldiers, and we'll introduce you to our best squad later today. And there's Sergeant Mickey Reeves from the Massachusetts Army National Guard, the first winner of the Innovation Oasis for ARCENT and for CENTCOM, as he brought forward the software program that this sergeant developed for counter-UAS training of his fellow soldiers out of PSAB, Saudi Arabia, where he sat on the BDOC. That's the type of innovation we've got going inside of our theater. Next, please. We'll start with people, and this is Sergeant Major Byrd. I'm going to introduce you to her in a second, but you can see if this is her baseball card, she's going to Cooperstown. That is a Hall of Fame soldier that we've got up there. The last unit that had her in her formation, 32nd AAMDC. We took her out of that formation. Rich was crying the blues. We brought her to ARCENT, and you can see what she's done for us in retention. Phenomenal job as she gets guidance from the Chief of Staff of the Army and the Sergeant Major of the Army in retention and keeping the high-quality soldiers that we need to stay in our formation in our formation. As they depart ARCENT, they go out across the Army, and they bring what they've learned in theater to those formations and bring that element of leadership. Perhaps more important is her efforts for future recruiting. And we all know how the Army is focused on recruiting. Sergeant Major has gone into the Sumter School District and gotten with our superintendent in the city, and she has got our staff into 23 of 24 of the school systems where they are providing a model of what it means to be a U.S. Army soldier, so that through our NCOs and officers that are engaging with the students in these classrooms, in the hallways, at sporting events, at concerts, they can see what it means to be a professional U.S. Army soldier, and perhaps will raise their right hand and join us in our formations. That's the intent of Sergeant Major Byrd. I'm going to introduce you to this awesome Sergeant Major. Sergeant Major Byrd, come on up.
Thank you, sir, for that great introduction, your kind words. Good afternoon, everyone. So, of course, the CG hit on a couple of the topics that I'm going to talk about. One, starting with retention, and then I'm going to talk about our recruiting efforts. So this year has been challenging. We had to deal with new systems, we had to deal with new policies, but we have amazing career counselors on our team, and they were able to adapt and overcome. So I'm very proud of the career counselors that we have on staff. Their involvement plus their leadership's involvement is the reason why AUSA was so successful. We were able to accomplish for FY23 ETS 110% retention rate, and when it comes to our FY24, we were able to accomplish 151%. So now I'm going to move over to our recruiting efforts. Our way to assisting the recruiting mission is by building relationships within our communities. So last year, we hosted a Meet Your ARSENT Day, where we invited key influencers such as principals, teachers, and staff within the Sumter School District to our headquarters. This was a great event. We were able to provide them a tour of ARSENT headquarters. We were also able to discuss our capabilities, and then we were also able to provide our soldiers, giving their Army stories to our key influencers. So this year, as the CG mentioned, our focus is being partners in education with the Sumter School District. Our soldiers and our civilians have volunteered for 23 out of 24 of the schools within the community. Since August, we have participated in reading to our students. We have also assisted with literacy nights, STEM programs, and then we have tried our best to be at every high school event that they had. So with that, because I only got a limited amount of time, in closing, these interactions within our community helps recruiting, allows us to share personal stories of the military, and hopes to inspire the next generation of people to volunteer, to serve, and continue to serve. Thank you, sir.
You can see why Sergeant Major Byrd is requested at just about every home game, a football game going on in Sumter right now. And football is king down in South Carolina. So, Sergeant Major Byrd, thank you for everything you're doing for us. Next slide, please. ARSENT Best Squad. So we greatly appreciate what the U.S. Army provides to us in resources. Of course, there are resources in equipment and in our facilities. But it's really the resource that is the Army, people. It's our soldiers. And I'm going to introduce you to the quality of soldiers that are sent to the ARSENT area of operations in CENTCOM. This is the ARSENT Best Squad, and let's start the video real quick so you can see what Sergeant Hutchins and his team have done.
There is something unique and special about this squad, these leaders, these soldiers. And everybody sees the hardware they're carrying right now. Special Scott won the Soldier of the Year for ForceCom.
There's something unique about this squad. This is a cohesive squad. And this brings us back to our MTOs and says why they're so important. Whoever designed the U.S. Army squad, nine soldiers with a squad leader, staff sergeant, knew what a thing of beauty it was. And you can see that in Sergeant Hutchins. This is the Idaho Army National Guard. What these soldiers have done is deploy into combat into Syria. They've come back out to Camp Buring, continued their training across the region, and they competed in the ARSENT Best Squad competition. They ended up winning that, took that to ForceCom, and is the ForceCom's Best Squad. They just recently competed in the All-Army Best Squad competition that took place down at Fort Stewart, Georgia. So I just wanted to introduce you to these outstanding soldiers that were representing ARSENT and ForceCom in that competition. Sergeant Major, any comments on our team?
Yes, sir. Thank you for allowing me to make a couple of comments. So this is an example of what the Chief of Staff of the Army and the SMA, former Chief, former SMA, have been talking about for the last 4 years when they talk about the Army's NCO strategy of building cohesive teams that are highly trained, that are disciplined, that are fit, that are ready to fight and win. And then he charges the NCOs to create environments that treat everyone with dignity and respect, and then creating that formation with trust. This is the epitome, the example. This is an organic squad, not a super squad, an organic squad that mobilized together and that fought together, that competed together, and were able to achieve best squad for an organization that's 750,000 strong. So, great job, sir.
Great job, Sergeant Hutchins. Thanks. Next slide, please. Green Sands, and we'll roll the tape on this one, and I'll talk to you right afterwards.
The Green Sands program contributes to the security of the CENTCOM IOR through basically establishing a baseline course that helps our service members be more prepared to conduct their duties in the base defense operations centers and also more prepared to integrate counter-UAS systems as part of that training. It's important to conduct this training because we want to make sure that we protect our soldiers, our service members across the joint force, including our contractors and civilians at all our bases and camps across the CENTCOM AOR, and that we make them more prepared to conduct their duties of that force protection mission. The inspiration behind Green Sands is that CENTCOM headquarters identified a gap, and that gap was we did not have a standardized baseline training force where we could integrate counter-UAS systems into a BDOC training platform.
So a small snapshot of what training in the CENTCOM area of operations means. So if you're a soldier that is going to go into any of our secure installations, you're sitting in a command post. On day one, you have to be able to defeat an enemy one-way attack UAV. This is where General Kurilla developed the Green Sands concept. And he said, Arsent, I want you in charge of the Green Sands training program. Develop a 5-day POI, 4 days of classroom instruction followed by a live fire. And you saw us out there conducting a live fire with the MLIDs, so that's our latest technology out there. Having soldiers understand that, become confident with that, so that on day one, they're able to defeat that type of threat that may be coming at them wherever they are in the region. 2nd Brigade, 10th Mountain Division is currently with us in Syria and Iraq. They are the best trained day one soldiers to take over BDOC operations of any of the BCTs we have received in theater. That's because of the training that was conducted at Fort Drum, New York with the 10th Mountain Division, follow on to JRTC, post-JRTC training, and then falling in at Camp Buring where this Green Sands BDOC training was conducted. The next unit we'll have is 44th IBCT out of the National Guard in New Jersey. We'll be conducting Green Sands on the road and be bringing our game from Kuwait into the United States and training with them at Fort Bliss, and we'll give them another iteration when they come into Kuwait. That is innovation, but it's innovation in the way that we train. Next, please. Training meetings, and you'll see multiple slides, photos on this slide of our partners and the ARCENT team coming around a training meeting. Now, this is common. This is 7-0 for us in the U.S. Army. This is our doctrine. From corps, division, down to company, troop, battery level. Everybody in the United States Army understands what a training meeting is. We have 2 Army staff talks. We have Army staff talks with the IGF, with the Israeli ground force, and with the UAE land forces, General Saeed and his team. They went so well that other partners said, we need to have an Army staff talks. So ARCENT developed the training meeting, and we are now out conducting training meetings. In the past year, we've conducted 10 training meetings around the region. What this does, we sit down with our partners, and just not the commander of ARCENT that would go into an office call, but all of our commanders, from the division commander that is with us, 2-star, based out of Kuwait, currently the 40th ID out of California, Mike Laney, and all of our brigade level commanders, our 2-star sustainment commander sitting there also. Now you see the depth that is ARCENT sitting across the table. It is almost a little UN type of meeting, and we want it to be that. We want to see these commanders sitting across from their counterparts in the region and discussing how we will train together, how both formations will become better based on the training meeting. We'll continue this program. It's gone exceptionally well. And again, this is straight out of the U.S. Army Doctrine 7.0. Next, please. based on our training meetings, we developed the triad. This is the training triad. It is not the same with every partner, but by and large, this training triad rings through all of the training that we are doing in theater as we engage in exercises with our partners, which starts off with the third SFAB. We've got our third SFAB here team with us today. Third SFAB and the demands for the third SFAB to come and train with partners across the region has gone off the charts. It is exponential. Mike cannot deal with all the requests that he gets, so we prioritize all that. That is a good thing for the third SFAB and for ARCENT to have a challenge like that. You can see where we focus them. Brigade and battalion staff, MDMP. Developing staffs that are cohesive and have the ability to do planning assessments and provide their commander with recommendations, development of operations orders. They also focus on our CTC program and bringing our partners to our combat training centers, whether that is the JRTC in Louisiana or the National Training Center out at Fort Irwin, California. And we'll show you a clip on that. Task Force Spartan. Think our National Guard divisions that rotate in. We've recently had the 28th ID out of Pennsylvania. We currently have the 40th ID out of California. An exceptional formation. This is a division staff. They focus on collective training in our major exercises across the region. It means something when we bring a U.S. Army division commander in with a partner and talk about training. It's the same way we train in our units here, and that division commander has clout across the region. State Partnership Program. This program is off the charts. Unbelievable capacity with 9 of the countries in the region that have state partnership program with 7 of our states. As these officers come in, from the TAG on down to captains that assist us with the state partnership program, our partners have known these formations for years. They have an enduring relationship. So we are leaning on this very heavily as a part of the triad. And that is the training triad across ARCENT, and this is repeated every time we do a training meeting or an Army staff talk. Next, please. Sergeant Major.
Yes, you're going to see a series of photos here. One is our CENTCOM SEAL, our Senior Enlisted Advisor, Fleet Walters, who's a Navy SEAL, who's absolutely pushing NCO development in the region. Why is that important? Because our partners are requesting NCO development. Why? Because they're watching the Russian-Ukraine conflict right now, and they're seeing NCOs making a difference, right? They're seeing NCOs operating under mission command, decentralized operations, and using discipline initiative in order to accomplish their mission. And they want to be a part of that. Now, how are we helping? We're helping by conducting key leader engagements to make sure that we know exactly what they want. And then also to set some expectation so that we can say, okay, this is what we can provide. What are we using? We're using our very own doctrine. It works for us, right? So ADP 6.0 Mission Command Doctrine, we're using the NCO's training strategy. It's working for us. The NCO guide that talks the be, know, do attributes, and then the core competencies of the NCO works for us, right? And we're also using the profession of arms, ADP 1.0, right? Standards and discipline. And we're shaping those NCO cores inside the region. Sir.
Sergeant Major, thank you very much. I'm going to brag on you guys just a little bit. Down in that right-hand corner, you see that slide. That's from General Saeed's formation. This is his NCOs going back and conducting an NCO forum in the UAE. We did not develop these slides with the 3rd SFAB. They were developed by the non-commissioned officers out of the UAE Land Forces. They had 2 enduring themes out of going to JRTC with 2nd Brigade, the 10th Mountain Division. You have to execute mission command when you are conducting operations with the U.S. Army. You have to execute mission command. If you don't, the tempo is too fast and you will be left behind. To keep up with that tempo, you must rely on your non-commissioned officer corps. That is the baseline of conducting operations with the United States Army. And General Saeed and his team continue to provide that response to all of his formations. Next slide, please. IMET, so our professional military education. Within ARCENT, we have reached out to places like the U.S. Army War College, Command and General Staff College out at Leavenworth, and our Sergeant Major's Academy down at Fort Bliss. We've partnered with all these. We know when our partners are going to school. In fact, they get a note from me that says, congratulations, you're about ready to start the academic year. Halfway through, stick in there. It's December. You got a halfway to go. You're doing a great job. And then finally in May, congratulations, you're graduating. You're going back to your formation with an incredible education, and you're going to make an impact in your formations. We send our senior leaders out to every one of these graduations, and we link up with our counterparts that we know we're going to soon see in theater. And what we hear from all of our partners across the region is how important the U.S. Army school system is to them. And it doesn't have to just be the Sergeant Major's Academy, CGSC, or the War College. It can be any one of our courses that we hold at our Centers of Excellence. It can be our non-commissioned officer courses. All of these are on the table for our partners in theater, and the demand is sky high. You see, there's a Ranger student right there. Every time we get a Ranger student, there is an ARCENT officer standing down at Fort Moore with them to help pin on the tab, because that action is a tactical graduation. It jumps to strategic levels when we talk to land force commanders, we talk to ambassadors, we talk to their CHODs in the region. And this is how we partner through professional education. Next, please. We've talked a lot about our Combat Training Center program. As we looked at this program, no partner in the CENTCOM region had ever gone to a U.S. Army CTC. They had not gone to JRTC. They had not gone to the National Training Center at the company level, which is how we rotate our partners into our training centers. This is the crucible for brigade combat teams for the U.S. Army. We want it to be the same way for our partners and to energize their formations like it does with us. We began this last September with the UAE. After we shook hands in front of the tank in front of our headquarters, we flew to JRTC, and we introduced General Saeed's deputy to Geronimo, the most hated battalion in the U.S. Army. Geronimo, the OPFOR at JRTC. Usually when you meet Geronimo, you want to go fight at JRTC, and that happened with the UAE. They said, we're going to compete in your live fire and bring the 3rd SFAB to us. We're going to link them up with one of our best units in the UAE land forces, the 11th Mountain Battalion. General Saeed made that promise to us, and he held to it. And what we saw in February and March was a phenomenal rotation by the 11th Mountain Battalion. We're going to show you a clip of that.
كنا فارين كم من الحجازي؟ 9-3-6 صفر. ما عندنا حد بس الدقيقة صحيح سيدي؟ بس الشرايط
And that's Major General Saeed. Sir, thank you very much for your commitment to that program. General Saeed, right after this, invited us to his combat training center, which is an unbelievable facility. The mount site that he has there is world class. So this goes into the CTC strategy. Bring our partners to our combat training centers, partners that can fight on the battlefield against Geronimo, and you saw the UAE capturing a Geronimo platoon there. There are many of you out here in this audience that never captured a Geronimo platoon. So that really says something for those 11th Mountain Battalion soldiers. They are coming back this January with 2nd Brigade, the 101st Airborne Division, to go into their 2nd JRTC rotation and have a commitment for 2025 coming out of our Army staff talks to come at battalion level. You saw how General Saeed deployed his forces, C-17s. Unbelievable to have that type of strategic lift coming into JRTC and bringing in such a phenomenal company to rotate through. Again, General Saeed, thank you. Next, please. Best Cyber Warrior competition. I see Rob Powell floating around back there. So Brigadier General Rob Powell was our 335th commander. Come on up, Rob. Grab the mic from Sergeant Major. So the 335th signal, we folded the flag on that. So it was tough for us to lose Rob Powell in theater. He's a great cyber officer. Rare that you get a cyber officer. What he did with our partners was energize cyber partnership. And he's going to talk a little bit about one of the initiatives that he had that took off for us. Rob.
Hey, good afternoon. So when I got into the theater, started talking to some of the coalition, and I kicked it over to General Frank and said, hey, the coalition's experienced very much like what we were experiencing 10 years ago in building out their cyber forces. They want help, and General Frank looked at me and said, execute now and move out fast. So we did. And we did a lot of instant response training, but probably the biggest thing we did, and you're going to see it here in a second, I think, in the video, is going to be the Best Cyber Warrior. We've expanded it. In the past, we had gone, because of COVID, to a virtual environment. Now we've gone to a hybrid environment, and this year, in the video, they'll talk about it a little bit, but I'm telling you, we're going to be doing it at Muscat, Oman, and the teams are going to be together, sharing that experience. And if you know anything about cyber, it's a global war, and you got to share those tactics, techniques, and procedures across the team and build those relationships so when you're in the fight, you can go forward and pull that information from each one of the team, because no one has all the picture. And it's been a great challenge. But I tell you, these teams, especially the coalition forces here in this theater, they're absolutely amazing. And working with the U.S. forces and joint forces, coming over and working with our coalition partners, and seeing these young kids go after the problem. They move so incredibly fast, and we've given the information and the training, they move out even faster. And Best Cyber Warrior is just one of the key components that we have within the tool set to help them train, and then we circle back in and make it harder every year.
Hi, I'm Brigadier General Robert Powell, U.S. AUSA and G6.
And I'm Brigadier General Saud Lindsay, Kuwait Cyber Operations Director.
We're here to share some exciting news. Mark your calendars, because Best Cyber Warrior is coming soon. We proudly present Best Cyber Warrior 9, coming to you October 16th through 18th, 2023 in the beautiful city of Muscat, Oman.
This exercise is designed to create a culture of awareness and understanding to reduce risk and protect networks. Technology has evolved, and so has the complexity and challenges of cyber security. The exercise will challenge participants with a range of exercises from reverse engineering to network defense.
Not only will you have the opportunity to compete with the best, but you'll also get the opportunity to meet cyber teams from across the globe. Register now and let your skills speak for themselves. We're better together. Visit our website below for more information to secure your place among the elite.
You always love a Rob Powell video. So, Rob, thank you. He's not wearing our patch anymore, but we still consider him an ARCENT officer, and we're going to have him in for Best Cyber Warrior competition. In fact, Yemen signed up the other day as we were at the Land Forces Commanders Conference, and Rob brief this. So great to have all sorts of participation from across the region. Next slide, please. So when you think ARCENT training, you often think tanks, Bradleys, engineers, armored bulldozers. We also do humanitarian assistance and disaster relief, and one of the keys to that was Glenn Hagler, who has a National Guard background and had done this in previous assignments. When we saw the floods in Pakistan, we said, how do we bring the Army Corps of Engineers and all their expertise into our partner in Pakistan and talk about humanitarian assistance, disaster relief, not just point in time, but into the future? How can we prevent these type of things like our Corps of Engineers has done here in the United States? So this video shows our Inspired Gambit program with the Pakistani military and everything that we have done over the last 12 months with them. Roll the tape.
Inspired Gambit is a U.S. Army Pakistan meal-to-meal exercise that we execute. We have great participation from our Pakistan military partners and excellent events, so we're very proud of being able to pull this off this year.
These kind of activities are vital to develop that expertise. From being a security cooperation office professional, I particularly learned more about the processes of the both sides. Now with that knowledge, I can better serve the both countries to not only to cooperate in any kind of human disasters, but to form these kind of engagements in the future.
That's our greatest mission, to take care of them and to be there when they need us. So thank all of you very much for what y'all do for your people.
And you read that right. That was General Retired Russell Honore up there of Katrina fame. Because as we talked to our Pakistani counterparts, we discussed who has done this at that type of level in the United States. And immediately you go back to Katrina and what General Honore did. So it was great to bring him on the VTC screen and talk to all of us, Americans and Pakistanis that were sitting in the room doing Inspired Gambit, bringing in those that have actually applied what we talk about in doctrine and seen it be successful in application. We'll continue this program across the region because all of our partners talk about how ARCENT has come in and what we've done in their formation. So we've had many step forward and ask for the same type of program to be done with them. And again, Glenn Hagler, thanks for all of your efforts in this. Next slide, please. Our Innovation Challenge. Go ahead and run that tape there, guys.
Our goal is to improve the quality of electronic warfare training in the U.S. Army. Improving the quality of training will better the outcome on the battlefield. And when we are successful, our efforts will ensure safety in America.
This is what one of our early modules could look like to replace in-class lectures. We interviewed 46 people to get this information. CW2 Wendy Robertson gave us this quote: "The U.S. Army is currently on Nintendo 64, and we can make the Xbox."
Pretty good quote from Nintendo to Xbox, okay? These were students that are in universities around the ARCENT headquarters that our team had brought in some of our efforts in pushing forward programs to CENTCOM for their Innovation Oasis. General Kurilla holds this down at the CENTCOM headquarters. It is a Shark Tank-like environment, and again, Sergeant Mickey Reeves from the Massachusetts Army National Guard, one of our ARCENT soldiers from theater in Saudi Arabia, won the very first iteration of this. The students that you saw on the screen paired up with our electronic warfare team, and we're in the second iteration, and we're really close to winning that iteration. We've got a third. We've already selected our individuals that have won. Their baseball cards are popping up down on the bottom. The team is a chief warrant officer and a lieutenant. The lieutenant is a West Point graduate and an MIT graduate out of the 513th MI, which is our innovation factory inside of ARCENT. So continuing to have a very effective program there, really underneath General Kurilla's banner. Next, please. This is our PLS system, ATVS, or leader follower truck. We've got 3 of these in country right now. Essentially, that first truck can be driven by a soldier, and you can have no soldier in the following 2 trucks that we have. It will just follow that truck based on the series of sensors that are on that vehicle. We will get 7 more of these vehicles. We'll have a fleet of 10, and our intent is to bring these into standard operations across the region. We call it the Trans-Arabian Network. It's the highway network that connects Kuwait to a port like Yanbu on the western side of Saudi Arabia. This is where the innovation that the U.S. Army provides to AUSA is applied in experimentation, and we have it out there training with our soldiers each and every day, and we're grateful to the Army for providing us this type of capabilities. Next, please. Red Sands. Many of you have heard about the Red Sands program. This is a program between our CENTCOM and Saudi Arabia. We've done 2 iterations of live fires in Saudi Arabia. The first was at the Kursk range, which is a Royal Saudi Air Force range, an electronic range for immediate feedback for pilots. We had our live fire there, and we needed to expand based on the amount of effort that we were receiving from industry as well as from DEVCOM and the United States Army. So we moved to KKMC, King Khalid Military City, where many of you know we train with our tanks up there all the time. We're familiar with the range complex there. We can fire anything in the inventory at KKMC, and it's run every day by our Royal Saudi partners, the land force partners there at KKMC. So perfect location for Red Sands Live Fire number 2, which we just executed in August. I think we got the clip on that. No clip? There we go. That was a quick brief of what we executed with our Saudi partners at Red Sands at KKMC. What made it so unique is that it's not only U.S. systems that are firing. We brought in all of the Saudi services. Royal Saudi Land Forces were there. Of course, they run KKMC. Royal Saudi Air Defense brought in their Shikra and their Skyguard systems. They had successful engagements. Great to have them be there and be partners in the Red Sands series. And then we had the Royal Saudi Air Force as we handed off a target from the Royal Saudi Air Force to our Apache helicopters for destruction. These are all the types of experimentation that we are doing. We are partnering with our Saudis each and every month. We have a 1-week course where we sit down with Saudi experts and American experts out of ARCENT. They sit in a classroom, about 25 of them, and we talk about different challenges on counter-UAS and how we're looking at enemy systems, how we can defeat those and be more effective on the battlefield. A great program, and we'll continue that with live fires at KKMC. Next slide. Winning in the CENTCOM AOR. This is how ARCENT has moved out over the last 12 months since we last saw this group up here for the conference in Washington, D.C., and our soldiers have been putting a lot of effort, a lot of action in with our partners across the region. And I think you can see that the tremendous teamwork that there is across all of our land force component commanders, our partners out there, as we conduct exercises and training throughout the region. So, our Major, I think we've hit our timeline here.
The stop sign was up a couple of times, sir. But I just want to thank everyone for allowing us to tell our story. I want to thank our partners for being here. And I'll finish with the theme of people, partners, innovation, partners being very important because we never go to war alone.
Again, that's winning in the CENTCOM AOR. Thank you very much for your attention today. Good to see everybody. I see a lot of great friends in the audience out here, not only on the U.S. side, but all of our partners too. Gentlemen, thank you for coming. Patent Zone.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was U.S. Army Central with People, Partners, and Innovation. This concludes today's iteration of Warriors Corner. Please join us again tomorrow at 09